case fatality rate basically indicates the severity of the disease. You all agree with me? This is another traditional routine questions. What are absolute, what are relative? All except, whatever except or no except, just will, but please kindly make a note so that we will recheck, we will correct the paper. I think except about absolute contraindications, okay. I leave to you what are all the absolute, what are absolute contraindications, doctor? Cancer breast, cancer genitals, liver disease, previous history of thromboembolism, cardiac anomalies, abnormal uterine bleeding. So what among these are mentioned, just make a note of them. Absolute. Now is this question there? Right? This question is there. I think recently we had it in one of our mock tests. Health education, what are the various methods of delivery? We have got regulatory approach. What is the meaning of regulatory approach? Government will release a rule. If more than one child, you will not be given ration card. You will not given eligibility to take entrance exam. So all this is strict rules, but rules are for fools, and Indians are known to break them very well. So regulatory approach is a miserable failure of health education in India. If you say smoking in public places is not permitted, people will go into toilet and smoke, stating that it is not a public place, it is a private place. So regulatory approach has no place. Then service approach, that is you hold the chin of the person and try to do the health education. Even that is a miserable failure in India. You have a health education approach and also primary health care approach. I don't know what was the fourth option? Incentive approach, Acha. You come to the coaching class, we will give you buffet lunch. It's called incentive approach. Good. I think that is not the part of the health education approach, but we do all that because on Sunday we have no other job. So unless students are there and we have got something to discuss the whole day in a air-conditioned conference room, probably we will suffer a little insanity. So come down for those who could not make for our live sessions starting from this month end. If not coaching, we will have a nice buffet lunch, we will have 2 times coffee, and we will be able to review some topics, sleep well, and then go back like a play school. So that's the whole idea. What is a weekly pill? Saheli comes every week. So it is the Centochromon, which is basically called the weekly pill, which is ormeloxifene is what need to be remembered. Now tell me, doctor, what is this maneuver basically called? It's called as you are turning onto the side, making the person to stabilize, and then make the person lift up after a period of time, after acclimatization occur, which is all basically called the Apley's maneuver. So Apley's maneuver is basically used in benign positional paroxysmal vertigo is what need to be basically remembered. In congestive heart failure, ECG can be normal. Echo is diagnostic, definitely we calculate the left ventricular end diastolic pressure, LVE DP. There is no correlation between symptoms and severity of the CHF. There is no, though there is a New York Heart Association NIHA classification, still CHF severity and symptoms may not have correlation. Was the option pulmonary examination not helpful is there or not? Pulmonary function tests are not helpful. You are putting me in a fix. I think I need to justify something else as the answer now. It's called as floor crossing. So we are very good at. I'll once more come back to this question. I'm not very sure how to justify that. Parvovirus B19 aplastic crisis, all of you know very well. Now this another controversial question. Was general paresis was an options? Yes? You all agree? SSPE is demyelinating. Multifocal leukoencephalopathy JC virus, demyelinating. Metachromatic leukodystrophy due to aryl sulfatase deficiency, demyelinating. Even general paresis is also demyelinating in syphilis. I think you can contest for a cancellation of the question then. But is general paresis there? You all agree? Huh? Was there any something else which is not there in this? Which is a demyelinating. Metachromatic leukodystrophy. Oh, वो भी है क्या? I am not sure. I mean, is it? Oh, that's good. So I think we give credit to support the university. One of our students answered metachromatic leukodystrophy. He says demyelinating. But I am not sure about this terminology. Honestly, what is demyelinating versus demyelinating? I will once more go back to check what is the difference. But metachromatic, so provisionally we will give metachromatic leukodystrophy a potential answer. How many answered SSP? Okay, anybody answered general paresis? They are the two common answers, unless someone is very, very knowledgeable about demyelinating versus demyelinating. Option D won't strike in the exam hall. In pulmonary hypertension, it is the BMP gene. This one of the routine question. Anybody answered endothelin? Nobody answered? Somebody? Yeah, we always have somebody for every answer, be very sure. Acute leukemias are predisposed by Down syndrome. Which type of leukemia is predisposed, doctor? Huh? AML. AML, very good. This is the most favorite question we had been discussing many times. We discussed this. What is the difference of hemolysis in a HUS versus DIC, disseminated intravascular coagulation? It is the Coombs negative hemolytic anemia, which you see in hemolytic uremic syndrome. If you remember, we discussed this very well in our mock test. Then why hemolysis occur in case of hemolytic uremic syndrome? My question to all of you. Because in hemolytic uremic syndrome, there will be fibrin clots which will be forming in the microvessels. When the RBC negotiates through that fibrin clot, it becomes destroyed. It is not antibody mediated destruction. It is due to negotiating through that fibrin clot formed in the microvessels of the hemolytic uremic syndrome and TTP. There is a hemolysis. Hence it should be Coombs negative. अगर किसी में Coombs positive हो गए तो it is unlikely or never it is hemolytic uremic syndrome. That is a very important point. In sepsis we use activated protein C in the early stages, which is found to have a very successful outcome in a large number of trials, is what need to be remembered. Was there any question about insulin? Giving insulin and managing the sugar, something like that? Just write that option, I will check that. But it is not an except question, right? First, it is not except question, sepsis. You all agree? If it is not except question, activated protein C definitely is used in the early stages, there is no doubt. Huh? In all cases, they mentioned it as all cases, not early. We will once more dwell into the question. I mean, all these things are not hard and fast rules. You know, celiac artery branches means there is some knowledge. In this question, everybody is expert, because everybody can give a guess, equally guessing kind of a question. Anyway, vaginous, what is the deal before we go to exam? One question on vasculitis, without that there is no paper. Vaginous is differentiated by the presence of the ulcers in the upper respiratory tract. Can you tell me a vasculitis where you have polyps in the nose? Nasal polyps, church straws. Okay, but nasal ulcers is typically seen in vaginous. Crescent formation RPGN. So what is the deal before we go to exam? One question on glomerulonephritis, there is no paper at all. It is the most high yielding topic. Hodgkin's with a median cell mass after radiotherapy develops hypothyroidism. It is definitely not due to hypopituitarism, no doubt, but we should remember that lymphoma in the thyroid, because of an underlying Hashimoto, is seen in about a good number of patients. Lymphoma in thyroid is there. It is due to the consequence of underlying Hashimoto, but the Hashimoto will be silent. After you treated the lymphoma, Hashimoto then will flare up and lead to hypothyroidism. So that is the reason this is a classical case of the Hashimoto's hypothyroidism after treating the lymphoma of the thyroid with radiotherapy. Okay, which is seen in about 30% of cases. I leave that as a literature review for you. Now, what is a very common cause of the acute renal failure, post-renal cause? Anybody answered it as bladder neck obstruction due to prostate? No? It is a renal stone. Renal stone. You answered? Renal cause? Renal stones need to be bilateral to lead to, no, most of the times in clinical practice, renal stone leading to the obstructive hydronephrosis and leading to renal failure with a rise of creatinine we see very commonly. But BPH leading to bladder outlet obstruction leading to renal failure is less commonly seen. But in elderly population, if you take special subsect of population, in them the bladder outlet obstruction becomes most common. Overall population, if you take, renal stone becomes most common. But population being not mentioned, we are left for imagination. In rheumatic fever, large joints are definitely involved, and arthritis will last never more than 4 weeks. So arthritis lasting for 6 months is false about the rheumatic fever, is what we should be very, very sure about. Leukemia, polycythemia, sickle cell disease, all of them are associated with the Budd-Chiari syndrome. Now coming to the Entamoeba histolytica, first of all tell me, are the options are correct which you are seeing here? Invasive, non-invasive, treatment is different. Whenever it is non-invasive, if you treat it with a luminal amoebicide like paromomycin, iodoquinol or diloxanide, that will be more than sufficient. Basically you require the metronidazole, nitroimidazoles only for the invasive disease. But nitroimidazole plus paromomycin combination is not really proven more superior. So I think option D, metronidazole plus paromomycin gives a better results, is not always true statistically. But all the remaining three becoming true. Invasive, non-invasive, it is different. If it is non-invasive, if you treat it with paromomycin, enough. Only when it is invasive, then you need to treat it with what? With the metronidazole additionally. So that's the point of the question here.